You're listening to BBC Radio Manchester. It's just gone 12 minutes past 5. Controversial plans for this new high-speed rail link, which will eventually connect Manchester with London, have survived 9 out of 10 legal challenges at the High Court today. The government now calls it a green light to press on with HS2. Opposition groups prepare to appeal. Joe Rukin is the Stop HS2 campaign manager, and he told me, despite what happened in court, this is a hollow victory for the government.
Well, for a government to say it's a massive landmark victory when they've just been proved in court to have acted unlawfully in terms of the compensation that they're willing to offer homeowners who are losing their life savings, it's absolutely disgusting, quite frankly, that they're willing to say that. And that's what I'm saying, that this whole thing is being fuelled by spin.
Well, the government have acknowledged that, though, haven't they? They've said they'll look again at the compensation, and the judge said, yes, they've got the compensation issue wrong. What the judge didn't say was there shouldn't be a railway line between London and Birmingham that goes very quickly.
Well, he also didn't say that there should be a railway line that goes from London and Birmingham very quickly. And that's the key thing. He said it's not his position to say that. It's not the position of the judiciary to preempt Parliament, and if they want to do something really stupid, that's up to them. Basically, they've ticked the minimum legal boxes in terms of doing things legally. They've only got away with the environmental assessments because the judges agreed with the defence that they haven't actually reached a decision yet, that their decisions document is only a plan but not a decision, which is, unbelievably bizarre. And it's up to Parliament to vote on these things, and then maybe after that point they will have acted legally if they haven't done the assessments properly at that stage. But basically what we found today is that you're saying, well, actually, the appraisal of sustainability, for example, wouldn't be good enough to get this thing passed legally if a decision had already been made. And as I say, bizarrely, he said no decision has been made so far. It's just a plan.
Where do you live, Joe, just out of interest?
I live in Kenilworth, but I'm not affected by, in Warwickshire, but I'm not affected by HS2 personally.
Because do you accept that there is a sort of a north-south divide developing over this?
No, not at all. I've been to 15 meetings in the last, 6 weeks in areas, right up the way to the end of the line at Church Fenton near York, where you've got communities that are absolutely incensed by this, not simply because it's going through their communities, because that's what gets people to read the plans. And when they've read the plans and actually understood what is on offer here, they realise that this is simply a vanity project that has been driven through without any proper assessment about whether it's what the country needs at a time that we're facing massive, massive cuts, and it's already over budget.
But this part of the country, further north than that, the Manchester area, is broadly in favour of this. We'd like to be better connected to the capital.
I was in, where was I? I was in Warburton last week, and the Trafford councillors were getting an absolute pasting from their residents because of their stance on HS2. I've been to, there'll be meetings.
Are they the residents who live near where the railway line is going to go? Are they the people who live in the northwest broadly whose economy will benefit?
Well, that's it. You say that broadly the economy will benefit, but where's your proof of that? That's the thing, that if you look at France, if you look at Spain, you will find that the benefits will go to the capital city, that this is just going to suck more and more stuff to London. That's why it's going to London. If you want to help the economy of Manchester or Leeds or wherever, you wouldn't be making it quicker to go to London. That was the very, very last thing you would ever want to do. And look at Manchester yourself. Is it the airport and the area around there that needs developing? Is it the area around Piccadilly that needs redeveloping? Or is it the north end of Greater Manchester? And I think all your listeners will agree it is not those affluent areas or those, you can't really say the area around Piccadilly is, what you call an inner city area. It's in the middle of the city, but you know what I mean. You look at the areas to the north of Manchester, and that's where you need redevelopment. That's where you need jobs. That's where you need investment.
What does it mean if you live close to the route, if you're in Manchester city centre or Cheshire? Iain Johnston is from the firm Brabner's Chafe Street in Manchester and joins me now. Iain, good afternoon.
Hi.
How significant is this legal ruling, Iain? I mean, you can give us an independent view here because both sides are sort of claiming victory. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's obviously disappointing for the local authorities and the pressure groups who are trying to put a stop to HS2. 9 of the 10 grounds were refused by the judge. But the consolation is in terms of the property compensation consultation that the government ran last year. The judges decided that that consultation process is defective and the government needs to have a rethink about the consultation. And it may mean that some of my clients who are currently outside the corridor where you might be eligible for some form of compensation, that they may actually get some further compensation eventually going down if the government carries out a further consultation process.
Iain, how wide is the corridor to which you refer currently?
Well, at the moment, in the Midlands, they've announced that they have a 22-metre area where the line will run. Outside that, there will be what's called a 60-metre safeguarding line either side of that area. Any properties within that corridor will be subject to a form of advanced purchase scheme. Outside the 60-metre area, there's going to be what's called a voluntary purchase area of 120 metres from the centre of the line. If you're in that voluntary purchase area, and you want to move and you want the government to buy your property, then they will do so. What the people I feel sorry for are the people who are, say, 200 metres away from the line. They will get very little, if anything, compensation going forward. And what you'll find is that their property is blighted and then they can't sell if they want to move on. I have quite a few clients and people who have contacted me who are in a position where for the next 10, 15 years, they'll be blighted. They won't be able to sell their property, and yet the government seems to think that it's acceptable that they're not going to get any compensation.
Many listening, myself included, will be astonished that you can be that close to a railway line and not get any compensation. I mean, 60 metres, then there's the additional 120 metres, are there? So effectively, if you're 180 metres away, you could get nothing.
Yes, effectively.
That's hardly any distance at all, is it? You watch an athlete in the Olympic Games running 180, 200 metres. It doesn't take very long. That really isn't very far from the line, is it?
No. It is rather astounding that the government should think that quite a large group of people should be made to put up with that type
Iain, has that precedent been set elsewhere in other planning regulations? Have other railway lines agreed that distance? Is it a European sort of distance, or has the government decided on it specifically for HS2?
They've decided that this is an enhanced compensation scheme, according to the government. They've decided that because of the political fallout from HS2 in Midlands, that they needed to give a beefed-up compensation scheme. This is more than what they gave on HS1, which ran in Kent. So, but even so, it's still fairly limited. For people who do live a fair distance away, there will be some avenue for some compensation for noise and disturbance, but it only really applies 1 year after the line is open. So, for example, in the Midlands, it's not going to be open until 2026. You might get some limited compensation for disturbance from noise and construction 2027, but that's a long time to wait for any form of compensation.
So those people, and the longer this rumbles on, those people who are within that area or just outside it, as you say, are not going to know one way or the other. So anybody who looks at that house and does the search and realises how close it is to the potential line will just say, no, thank you. So they're not going to be able to move at all. Nobody's going to want to buy these houses, are they?
Well, I've got a range of people in the Midlands, especially, who have that problem. And if you speak to people like big estate agents like Knight Frank, they can tell you that there are whole areas that are completely blighted and they can't move properties.
Are they properties in all price brackets, Iain? I mean, there are people, listening to this who will say, well, that's all very well, but if you live in a, £500,000, £600,000 house in several acres of countryside, they might be less sympathetic. But is it affecting all people from all walks of life, as it were?
Yes, I think so. Generally, the properties that I find that are affected are some of the more pricey ones, but I do know of some more modest houses where people have been trying to sell their houses, and they have people who come round, but as soon as they realise that HS2 is not far away, they go elsewhere, unfortunately.
So where next for your clients and for you? Is it just a waiting game now, or is there some way you can be proactive here?
Well, Well, the government will reconsult on its property compensation package.
Not a speedy process, I imagine.
Well, in the next 6 months, they'll probably rerun it, and people will have the opportunity to make submissions to persuade the government to come up with some enhanced compensation. But I'm quite cynical about the judicial review process. All the judges said is that the consultation process wasn't run correctly. What the government will do, I feel quite strongly, is they will rerun the consultation process, do it in a correct and legal way so that everybody has the opportunity to pitch in and have their views considered. The government considers, but then comes up and decides to make the same decision and doesn't actually improve the package at all.
Well, we'll wait and see, and sympathy I have with your clients who find themselves in that limbo period. Iain, thank you for your time this evening. Iain Johnston from the law firm Bradner's Chafe in Manchester.